Hello and welcome. My name is Ms. Lumpkins and I'm a high school vice principal. I am doing this presentation today to give you an overview of our high school curriculum. At GAA, we inspire, we challenge, we innovate, we care. At GAA, we are in secondary divided into two different schools. We have middle school, which is grades 6 through 8, and high school, which consists of students in grades 9 through 12. Mr. Krinkhammer is the secondary principal. He works with the pedagogical leadership team, which includes myself, the middle school vice principal, our IB coordinator, our curriculum coordinators. We work together to guide the course of the school. We also work very closely with our heads of department to provide input on issues such as scheduling, instruction, curriculum, assessment, and much more. You've probably seen by now that we rely heavily on technology at GAA. During times when students are on campus, we are a bring your own device school. The specifications are listed in our student handbook. We also use several platforms, Google Drive and Google Classroom. We also use PowerSchool, which is where our grades are housed. Parents have access to each of these platforms. Please make sure that you contact our IT department if you need help setting up your parent account. As stated before, my name is Ms. Lumpkins and I'm the vice principal. The other individuals that work closely with our high school are Ms. Martin, who is our IBDP coordinator, our high school counselors, Ms. Bradford, who works with students A through D, and Ms. Brown, last names E through Z. Ms. Bhatti is our dean of students, and we have a dedicated team of teachers who work with our high school students. At GAA, our mission is that we are a diverse and caring international learning community, offering a rigorous, relevant, and holistic education. We develop global citizens who have the confidence and conviction to impact the world and pursue their dreams. So what does the high school program look like? Well, in high school, we have both the American Diploma and the International Baccalaureate program that both offer students diplomas upon high school completion. During our time here, we strive to address the unique needs of our adolescents as they grow into young adults. We want to make sure that learning is worthwhile and rewarding for them. We use a standards-based learning approach, which also is the learning, grading, and reporting throughout secondary. I'll take a moment to explain this a little bit later on. Lastly, we really develop the full student as part of that holistic mission. So as part of our approach, we want students to take responsibility, initiative. We want them to develop leadership skills, to think and act with intelligence, to express their ideas and feelings in a socially acceptable manner. Our Genius Hour is one of the programs that we use in order to develop these skills. As stated before, we are a standards-based school. The standards that we use for our curriculum are listed here. We use Project Arrow, which stands for American Education Reaching Out, for our math, English, science, social studies. Our arts program relies on the National Arts Standards. PE relies on the Shape America standards, and ICT uses the ISTE standards. So what does that mean for standards-based grading? With the standards-based grading approach, all of our assessments are aligned to and directly measure the standards mentioned before. Work completion, organization, as well as work habits are reported separately through approaches to learning. With the standards-based approach, students receive specific academic feedback that explains the path to the mastery of standards. Rubrics are used to define mastery criteria and are shared with students prior to assessments. We do allow reassessments, but they are usually asked to be taken within a 2-week window of the initial assessment. Parents, you can track your child's academic progress using PowerSchool. When you look at our standards-based rubric, you will see the scale listed above. We have mastery, proficient, developing, emerging, and insufficient. One thing that is important to note about insufficient is it doesn't mean that a child has failed. It simply means that the teacher does not have enough evidence to make a determination if the child is mastery, proficient, developing, or emerging. Could mean that that your student has not submitted the work. Could also mean that the student has not attempted a specific problem that addresses a standard. So with standards-based, we also have two types of assessments. We have formative and summative assessments. Formative assessments are the assessment for learning. These are the practice problems that students do. Some formatives also often have the same standards, or they do have the same standards that are assessed on the summative. Again, it's the opportunity for your child to receive some feedback about how they can grow and where they can make some adjustments. Although they do not feed up into a grade per se, they are very important to take seriously because, again, this is the practice. This is what we're using to help your child grow. The second type of assessment that we use are summative assessments. Summative assessments are the assessments of learning. This is what we use to measure achievement. They give us a snapshot in time of where your student is, and we actually do feed these particular assessments up into a particular grade. Think of the assessment of learning or the summative assessment as the gameplay. So, how do you talk to your child? The questions here are some questions that you might want to consider asking your student when you're asking them about their classes. What standards do you think you need the most work on? What have you done to improve your performance? How did that assessment go? How could it have gone better? And what do you need to do to demonstrate mastery of this standard? When you're speaking to your child's teacher, some of the questions that you may consider are, what standard do you think my child needs the most work on? When is my child's next opportunity to demonstrate mastery of this standard? And how can I help my child get ready for the next assessment of this standard? One of the things that has happened this year as we've adopted a hybrid model, or we started in distance learning and then we came into a hybrid model, was our timetable. So this breaks down our timetable for you. You will notice that we have white days and blue days, A days and B days. The reason we have A and B is so that we do not have more than 15 students in a particular classroom. So white days are blocks A through D. Blue days are days E through H for your student. Ultimately, our goal in high school is that we get our students to graduation. As stated before, we have the American Diploma and the International Baccalaureate Diploma. We also offer the American Diploma with IB certificates. In order to graduate, a student must earn a minimum of 25 credits. The minimum number of credits to graduate include the following: 4 credits of English, 3 credits of science, 3 credits of math, 3 credits of social science, 3 credits of world language, which includes Spanish, French, and Arabic, 1 credit of physical education, 1 credit of fine art, and 7 other credits that they can do through electives or the core academics. It's also important to note that there are Addict requirements for certain groups of students. These requirements mean that students must take Arabic, UAE Social Studies in Arabic, and Islamic Studies in either English or Arabic. This is required in order for students to gain equivalency if they want to get employment in another Arab country or here in the UAE, or to go to college here. So the courses that we offer, in our core we have English, Arabic, Math, Science and Social Studies, Islamic Studies in both Arabic and English as stated before. UAE Social Studies happens in both English and Arabic. In grade 9, all students take UAE Social Studies. Physical education is required. Our academic electives include creative writing, geology, public speaking, global politics, world studies, economics, psychology, and computer science. We have electives in the arts, which include band, choir, theater, visual art, digital music, and film studies. One thing that is important to note is because it is a requirement that students do have at least one art credit, we do recommend that students who hope to do a double science in grade 10 because they want to prepare to go into the IB, they really need to take that art credit in grade 9. And we also have our world languages, French, Spanish, and Arabic as well. When we're talking about our programs, it's important to note that our math program is an integrated approach. So some of you may remember math the way that I took math, where you had geometry, algebra trig, pre-calculus, and calculus. With an integrated approach, students really spiral those different subjects and they build upon each other each year. Our sciences, we have biology, chemistry, and physics. Physics is now a requirement for students who will be graduating who are seeking equivalency. We have an emphasis on our approaches to learning. Our ATLs include self-management, communication, collaboration, thinking, research, and reflection. Our counselors have also developed a college readiness program that begins in grade 9. We really want our students to think about what courses they need to take in order to meet their goals. Counselors have a counselors page in which they share information. So be on the lookout for information that they may be sharing with you. When we're dealing with our high school students, we want to make sure that in grades 9 and 10, we're preparing students to go into the IB if they so choose. So a lot of the approaches to learning we reinforce, as well as the how to be successful. When students are in 11 and 12, they can choose to be full diploma students or they can have a blend of them. We use data to drive all of these decisions. So when we are looking at MAP scores, PSAT scores, or CAT4 scores, those are some of the data points that are used when we're determining whether or not a student will be in IB classes and which ones are the best fit for them. We also look at the student's approaches to learning. So if there's a student that struggles with self-management, we want to make sure that we're addressing that early on because IB does require very, very strong self-management. We strive to have students develop global awareness and acceptance of others, as well as to develop their 21st century skills. Ms. Martin will be presenting a program on our IBDP, so be on the lookout for information coming from her. The new part of our program this year is our Genius Hour. Genius Hour meets every day for about 20 minutes. It's our homeroom where pastoral care happens, but we also really focus on developing the skills that will help students be successful both academically and personally. We have explicit development of our ATLs, as well as really helping students to pursue some of their interests. Within our Genius Hour, there are about 15 students assigned to each advisor. Our advisors for Genius Hour work very, very closely with our heads of grade. Our head of grade, as well as the Genius Hour teacher, are the individuals in the school that should know your student the best. Your head of grade is the person that will advocate for your child if they need help. They will communicate regularly if there are issues that need to be discussed. This is also a really good point of contact for parents so they know whom they can contact at the school as well. Through Genius Hour, we talk about our character development. We really, really emphasize our culture of kindness. We develop positive study skills. We understand different learning styles, focus on the IB learner profile. We give an opportunity for student voice, and we recognize student achievements. You'll be able to see some of the student achievements that we've had recently through our grade level pages. Thank you very much. I know I have shared quite a bit of information. If you would like to join me for a question and answer period, I will be available on October 14th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. for a live question and answer session on Zoom. The Zoom link is attached to this email. Thank you for your time. Again, my name is Erin Lumpkins, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.